oftentimes entrepreneurs may think, how can I build this document, or how can I build this spreadsheet, instead of going, who can build me this? At the end of the day, this is your business, and you do need to take accountability and responsibility for what the actions of the business are and what is happening through the business. Just reading those books, the knowledge is there. And not only reading the books, but then going and implementing some of the practices within that book after the fact is really big. So the book club has helped me do that in a lot of different ways. And the main focus is how I can delegate and elevate myself to focus on the right important things within the business.
Welcome back to Business Book Club Breakthroughs, the show where real founders share the books that are moving the needle for their companies, but more importantly, how they're applying these ideas to build stronger foundations, better teams, and healthier margins. I'm Christin Cherry, your business growth guide, and I help all owners implement practical operational systems so they can scale their companies and elevate themselves. What I love most about these conversations is how relatable they get. Every single person you hear from is a member of the Business Book Club, and they share what's clicking and the real changes they're seeing in their businesses. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or like you're working really hard but not seeing the growth that you want, these episodes are for you. Today's guest is Hunter Cherry with Fran Placement. Fran Placement is a franchise consulting agency. Hunter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Hunter, so I want to dive right in. Tell me a little bit about what you're chasing in your business right now, but start us off with who you are, what that business is, and then tell us what you're chasing in that business today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Fran Placement is a franchise consulting firm. You can think of it very similar to a real estate brokerage, but for franchise candidates that are looking to explore entrepreneurship. So we consult individuals on not only what franchise fits them best based on their goals, needs and wants and all that good stuff, but we also help secure funding and review the legal. And so, yeah, that is Fran Placement. We are a service that helps navigate entrepreneurs through franchising. And so really chasing in the business a sense of clarity and growth on how I can scale this team to not just myself doing all the above, whether that's marketing or vetting potential candidates or taking them through the process or introducing them to franchisors. Right now, that is all pretty much reliant on me 5.5 years into the business. So since then, or since this year predominantly, that's kind of been the main focus, is how I can delegate and elevate myself to focus on the right important things within the business.
Okay, so you're 5 years in, you do everything. You consult these people that are wanting to become entrepreneurs, interested in franchising. You do it all. So what I'm hearing you say is right now you're at this pivotal moment of trying to elevate and delegate, right? And that has its own set of challenges. I am so sure. I've experienced it. I know you're experiencing it. We talk about in the book club, many of us are experiencing it. So when you came into the book club, you've been with us for over 6 months now. You've read several books with us. There is one that has stood out to you. But before you share that book, tell us what challenges you are facing that this book is going to help you overcome.
Yeah, so kind of just going back again to delegating certain tasks and responsibilities that don't weigh all of my energy and time down on the business. So really focusing on things that I love and I am good at in the business, and helping other tasks kind of weigh itself out and play itself out through delegating and elevating. And I'll kind of reference the book Who Not How. That is probably the biggest that stood out to me thus far. And exactly what I just said, understanding what task I'm good at, what things I love in the business, and then taking all the good key notes away from the book and helping me grow again to delegate some of the responsibility on the day-to-day of the business that not only do I not enjoy doing, but also that I'm not good at doing, right? I think a part of it has to do with being being honest with yourself and really understanding, hey, this is what I do and don't like. And so always come back to the book, Who Not How. That has been my favorite thus far in the book club.
So you are starting to delegate and elevate, which, gosh, that is a challenge in itself. It is a delicate process to really nail down. But what I'm hearing you say is you've really come to the conclusion, here's the things that I'm great at. Here's the things that I love to do. I don't need to be doing these other things. So for the listeners, explain the concept who, not how, and how that applies for you right now.
Yeah, so who, not how, generally speaking, says it in the name there, who, not how. So a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in their 9 to 5 or their work day on how can I complete X, Y, and Z, whether that's marketing, client acquisition, conversion, all that good stuff, taking, the client through the actual fulfillment of the business. Oftentimes, the business owner thinks, how can I do this, and not who can I do this? And then even building systems and procedures and scripts and all the good things that a business should have in the background. Oftentimes entrepreneurs may think, how can I build this document, or how can I build this spreadsheet, instead of going, who can build me this, and to the maximum potential there. And whether it's franchise consulting or real estate or any business out there, more than likely it's not the first time that has been proven out. And so I think going and reverting back to the book, Who Not How, also gives some clarity and reminds entrepreneurs that, hey, my business, while it may be unique to me and my my audience, it has been probably proven out before to the maximum potential. And so that's where Who Not How kind of helps create clarity around that overall topic and subject.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of the confidence to say, like, it doesn't have to be done by you. Many of us entrepreneurs thrive in that, being the jack of all trades. Hunter, do you feel that, like, when you first started the business, did you enjoy doing it all, and then it transformed to saying, I should not be doing all of this if I want to continue to scale? How did you view that early on in your business versus 5 years in?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think a lot of it had to do with you do need to learn every aspect of the business. And so in that, kind of honeymoon phase of opening the business, starting the business, learning all the different moving parts and systems that went into the business, that a lot of it was just, through doing the good due diligence that needs to be done in learning a business, right, and the ins and outs. And then slowly over the 5 years, I don't think burnout in a business is a thing, generally speaking. I think different categories of the business is what ultimately can burn you out. So 5.5 years into business, I've realized, hey, X, Y, and Z burn me out quite often. And also, again, they're just things that I'm not very good at, right? And so whether it be marketing or, again, client acquisition, or overall fulfillment, just some things here and there, you have to be honest with yourself and understand that, hey, over the 5.5 years that, I've been running the business, yes, I do, I did and do need to learn or did learn all parts of the business, but also as I've matured in the business and, continue to grow, understanding what I don't like doing, and then reverting back to who, not how can we find a who.
Okay. So Who Not How, we know, breaks down so many concepts, so many frameworks inside the book. Is there one that really stood out to you that you plan to apply, or you are applying right now, that's really making a shift in the way you think about your business or the way you lead your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. And kind of going back to even in Who Not How is a big realization for me, is even delegating a certain task or topic within the business has its own who that can help find that who, right? So that was a big one that stood out to me. It's like, okay, well, I need to go find these who's for my business, but at the end of the day, am I even the right guy to find those certain who's? So a part of the book was like, hey, there's even a who that can find your who, right? So that being in an industry that this is not new, and so helping even reverting back to other consultants that do the similar, things like, day-to-day objectives that I do, reverting back to them and understanding, well, hey, who did you use and how did you go about finding your who within the business? So that was a big part of the book that really stood out to me. Is it's like, okay, well, we need to go find your who for the certain part of the business that you don't enjoy or that weighs you down, or that needs to be delegated. But then also, you're not in that by yourself. You don't have to spend 7 days a week, 24 hours a day searching for that who. You may have just a piece or two or a connection or two that can really open the door to those who's, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Man, absolutely. I don't know if it's in the book Who Not How, but there is a book that we've read surrounding the same topic where it shares giving 10% of your input, letting another who do the 80%, and then you kind of finalizing that last 10%. So it has your seal of approval. And I think we get hung up on the how and that 80% and not realize that we can just kind of bookend that process. So Hunter, I am curious, is there a who right now within your organization or maybe like outside of the organization that is working well today? Not necessarily that you need them in the future, but like you got them plugged in today and they're working well.
Yeah, on the top end of our funnel on just overall lead generation and then the lead conversion side of things, I've got two really good who's there. That I've implemented. One, to help generate leads and write ads and go across several different platforms and help me kind of mine and find those individuals that are interested in franchising. And then also, once we do get those inquiries on a certain franchise or the services of consulting an individual on a franchise, that conversion, right, helping them get on the calendar so that I can just focus on what I'm good at, which is getting on the call, understanding the individual, their pain points, and then helping work through or reverse engineer their problem to help find that best business, right? So, kind of top of the funnel, right? How leads are generated, how they get on my calendar, and then, also me having to kind of go in there and take over post that process is a big part of the who's. And then on the fulfillment side of thing is, again, I'll just kind of revert back to this. Although I am 5.5 years into franchise consulting, there is individuals who have been in franchise consulting for 20 years, right? And so recently connecting with some of those individuals, much more experienced veteran consultants, and helping them understand, hey, I have a candidate or two that may suit you based on your experience and knowledge. And so again, not recreating a craft and an art that has already been created several times. So what I mean by that is when I do find a good candidate, maybe there is a veteran consultant out there that is a better fit to consult that candidate. So just being upfront and honest with myself as to how can I, again, not only at the top of the funnel help, really delegate some of those tasks and those day-to-day, but also the back end of the funnel, right? Having an individual actually being consulted on what franchise fits them best, that is also can be delegated to a consultant as well. So kind of like a real estate firm, right? You have a broker and their agents that are under them, and the agents are doing all the heavy legwork and lifting while the broker kind of seals the deal. So that's just kind of an example of some who's that I've slowly been implementing on, again, the top of the funnel and the end of the funnel.
You're implementing a lot of who's, so I feel like this book has really propelled you forward in this concept. So became a realization for you as you're reading the book. I'm sure the conversations in the room has really sparked some deeper conversation in the book club. But we all know when we go to implement all of these ideas, it's never the perfect implementation. And honestly, that's where it's really the struggle. So Hunter, I'm going to ask you to be a little vulnerable here and tell me, what challenges have you faced as you try to delegate, as you try to find those who and really push off some of those activities to those who's?
Right. Yeah, it's a good question. Really not recreating their process or the who's process, right? Because there's experts in marketing, there's experts in client acquisition, there's experts in helping individuals find and place a franchise. And I think struggling with helping them or not recreating their process. Just knowing and trusting, hey, this individual has been marketing for X amount of years. He has a really efficient process, or this individual has been consulting for X amount of years. He knows what he's talking about and has a really efficient process. Kind of struggling with navigating through that and allowing them to run with how their process works, right? Not how I want to do it. So that has been a little bit of a challenge, even on the consulting side of things, right? Because I may think I know what the best consulting practice and process looks like, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's a really right answer to that. And so allowing some of these consultants or marketing partners or client acquisition partners run with how they do things, and letting me stay out of the way and focus again on what my strengths are, has been kind of a challenge, right? So navigating through that a little bit, and again, allowing those experts in whatever category or topic that may be in your business, allowing them to run with it and do things their own way, can actually benefit you in the long run if you stay out of the way.
Mm-hmm. That's hard for us as business owners. The one who craves freedom for decision making, I imagine, right? Like that's, we all like freedom as entrepreneurs. A lot of us, that's why we have gone down this crazy journey of a path for entrepreneurship. So we love that freedom. So what you're saying is it's almost letting go of some of that and saying, you know what, that person's the expert. I have to trust that they've got a system and they can plug into my business. And so that's a challenge. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I know that's where a lot of us stop, right? We have this great idea, we go to implement, there's some sort of friction, and we just dump it and we go, it's just not going to work. So Hunter, I know this about you. You are a numbers guy. So you have a lot of data that you lean on. Tell me, is this part of how you are making sure some of the who's are doing the right thing by just looking at that bottom line rather than jumping into the how they're getting it done? Is that how you're monitoring whether you should jump in, pull that vendor or that who away because they're just not quite the fit? How are you making sure they're doing a good job?
Yeah, I would always revert back to numbers, right? Your metrics and your KPIs and your quarterly, goals, you should still absolutely have those identified and execute to the maximum potential on, again, the KPIs and the quarterly goals and metrics and all that good stuff. And so I think sticking to a process on the accountability of the business, and a lot of times that does have to do with numbers. How many leads were generated? How many of the leads are booked in my calendar? How many of those leads converted to a potential franchise prospect? I think definitely monitoring those numbers throughout the process is how you ultimately do know, hey, I've got my who here. And then also, another big one too is treating it as a team. It's one thing to find your who's, and it's another thing to lead your who's, right? And so I think if at the end of the day, this is your business, and you do need to take accountability and responsibility for what the actions of the business are and what is happening through the business. So a little bit of both, right? Sticking to, again, the KPIs and the quarterly rocks and goals, but also understanding that there is a big leadership aspect to finding your who, right? Because everybody's human, everybody makes mistakes, no matter how efficient or good they are at their job. And so, yes, while understanding, again, the numbers, but also leading them in the direction, and then finding a good who that matches your personality, right? I think that does have a big thing to do with it. And I'll kind of give you an example. I've gravitated towards consulting for home service concepts like Installation Commando, home service franchises, right? Well, there's brokers out there that specialize in fitness franchises or childcare franchises, things like that. So also being open and honest with, hey, here's the persona that I enjoy working with and the brands that I enjoy working with, and then again finding that maybe consultant who is familiar with home service concepts, for an example, would be another one, to just again make sure that my who is really my who.
So what I'm hearing you say is when you niche down, when you can focus on a little area, then you can really see the who's more clearly, because there are a ton of who's, right? Mentors, vendors, team members, leaders,
Right.
managers. Gosh, I mean, there's a million who's that we probably need for our circles to really elevate ourselves up. But I love that you're pointing out we need to find who our people are. So who are our people, and then how do they, what who's fit into that realm? I imagine that creates a very cohesive, happy culture within your organization.
Absolutely.
So tell me, Hunter, you've read the book, you've you've understood the business in the 5 years, you've started delegating, you're going through that process, you're facing the challenges and you're trying to overcome those challenges. I know there's some success on the other side of that. So tell me right now, maybe it's a little early in you finding your who and plugging in your who and implementing your who, but what successes are you seeing right now in the company based on this new mindset?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'd kind of revert back to the top of the funnel lead generation, and having those conversions, right? Having those leads properly followed up with, properly mentored onto my calendar is a big one. And so lead generation partners, marketing partners, and then again, kind of the conversion and client acquisition of getting those leads on the calendar, I'm having a lot of success with right now. And so on the back half of the equation there, consulting the individuals and delegating some of those strong candidates to other consultants. That part, a little struggle, but that's the most important part of it, right? So just kind of solving it from top to bottom, right? Starting with lead generation all the way through the finished product of helping that individual find the franchise has all been going pretty well, but kind of revert back to the quarterly rocks and metrics and KPIs, right? I think watching that waterfall week by week helps create some clarity. So while I haven't found necessarily the who to help me consult in the long run and actually take a hold of some of the qualified buyers who are all ready to buy a franchise, I think we're doing it and solving it in the right way, again, from top to bottom.
Yeah, so starting with the marketing piece is critical, right? Because you want to figure out that funnel before you start plugging in more what we say technicians, right? As a consultant, you're the technician in the business. And so you've got to prove out lead flow, your sales pipeline, before you can start plugging in those people. So kudos to you on making sure one is before the other. I am curious, and maybe the listeners are too, how long do you think it took you to really nail down that top end funnel before you felt like it was quote unquote successful?
Sure. Yeah, every bit of probably 5 years. It took some time. It took a while because for the past 5 years I've been me and our brother have been writing the ads, putting the leads in manually, following up with them manually, trying to manually book them on the calendar so that we can have that first consultative call. So every bit of 5 years was all reliant on myself, and so just really again kind of going this year, even joining the book club and reading Who Not How and some of the other books, it's helped me quickly realize that, hey, this is ultimately what we need to solve from, again, top to bottom. And so that never was really eye-opening for me or a realization for me until, unfortunately, year 5, when I did start to join the book club and read some of those good books like Who Not How. So unfortunately, that's what it took. Fortunately, but unfortunately, that's what it took. It took 5 years of cutting my teeth and kind of doing things the hard way, to then joining such a good group that really helped me understand the principles to that knowledge and then implement them going forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's there is something about the circles that you surround yourself with. You probably hear your parents talk about it growing up. Your friend circles are important, but as you go down this entrepreneurial journey, I think your circle for your entrepreneurs, are they helping you level up? Are they just, we have such a great community, and a lot of entrepreneurs are so supportive towards each other, but where's the room where you're challenging each other to really elevate yourself up? Because Absolutely. You're right, you spent 5 years perfecting this part of the business, like what's next? So that's exciting. Right. That's exciting to know you've got your top end funnel figured out, you're ready to go in there and figure out consultant side of things, so you can continue to elevate yourself. Last question I have for you before we kind of wrap this up is, Hunter, you are on this journey. It's taken you 5 years to get here. You're feeling really good. You're honest about your challenges that you're facing, so you're overcoming those. You know you want some consultants around you to help you elevate. What is the big thing that you're chasing in the business today? Like, what is that going to get you 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I would say really more so of a leadership position more than a technical position, right? So again, even me vetting those individuals on the day-to-day like I do for potential franchise buyers, even that in itself is exhausting and does require a lot of my time, and it may not be something that I necessarily enjoy doing. So really chasing the things in the business that I enjoy doing. And I'll kind of give you an example. In franchise consulting, we are here to consult individuals, not sell individuals. And what I mean by that is we're here to understand a client's persona and personality and their needs and wants and strengths, and then match them to a franchise that truly fits that, right? And so as a consultant, it would be very valuable of my time to go and truly meet all these franchisors and franchise corporate teams, learn the ins and outs of them, learn the goods and bads, and then bring that back to my clients, right? That should be a lot of my main efforts on the day-to-day as I continue to grow. And so that would be ultimately kind of where I see myself in the business, and what I am looking forward to in the business is kind of stepping away from the technical side of things, looking at it from a 30,000 foot view, even to the point of let's go find the best 3 to 4 to 5 maybe home service concepts or fitness concepts that I know, I love, and I trust, that my candidates can truly be successful with. Because at the end of the day, it is about the client, our client's success in the long run, right? When they buy a franchise, that is a 10-year agreement they're typically signing, and so it needs to be a good franchise. And I think a part of being a consultant and being a good one is you have to know the good franchises that will continue to help the success of our candidates. And so that would be just a big part of the business that looking forward to kind of just stepping into and really evolving as the years go on. So
okay, so we are going to catch up with you 5 years from now, and you are going to be leading a team of consultants. You're out in the field getting more of the industry awareness of what's really going on, so you can feed the information to your team. That's a beautiful vision, Hunter. I love that you are clear on that. If I could summarize this conversation, it's you've got a lot of focus, but you also have a lot of honesty in where you're at. Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy wrote the book Who Not How, and you keep coming back to it, like what you're good at. They call it our unique abilities. And I think it shifted the room when we read that part of the book. It really shifted so many of us entrepreneurs to say, it's okay to say, I'm bad at this. I don't like this. I shouldn't do this. Somebody else needs to do it because they love it and I don't love it. And you have just really absorbed that very well. And I think that is a testament to your success so far, and will certainly be a testament to your success in the future. So thank you so much for sharing all of those things. Hunter, I want one last thing from you. I just want to know if there's something that we need to leave the listeners with that they can take into their business, their next plannings, their future, based on what you've learned, what you know. What is the thing that you want them to hear the most right now?
Yeah, I would honestly, truthfully say to dive headfirst into the book club and the books that are implemented and the systems and processes from those books. Every great entrepreneur and leader in the history of time reverts back to other great, leaders and people in that industry. And so I think just reading those books, the knowledge is there, right? And not only reading the books, but then going and implementing some of the practices within that book after the fact is really big. So the book club has helped me do that in a lot of different ways. I think we're through maybe 3 or 4 different books now through several good authors, and again, I think that will be just the biggest takeaway to myself and my business, but also that I think other people should definitely consider. Just all the good authors. Gino Wickman is another one in the EOS system that you should definitely go and read some of his books as well. So that's a big one for me. I would hope that the listeners would. Just start reading some of those books and implementing some of the processes and practices of those books and seeing how their business and watching their business flourish and grow. I think that's what it's about. So.
Oh, well said. Well said. You can pick up some of those books for $12. That $12 really can be an amazing investment in your business if applied appropriately. So thank you for encouraging the listeners. I know you and I in our book club, people love the business books that we're reading. But I think that just is the best piece of advice that you could give our listeners right now. So thank you for that, Hunter. Okay, Hunter. Well, we appreciate your time and your vulnerability, sharing your journey. I know so many listeners will pick up some tidbits from this, and it's going to evolve their business. So we thank you for that. Again, we appreciate you, Hunter.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
If today's conversation resonated with you and you found yourself nodding along thinking, I could use a little more of this, I have a simple next step for you. Grab the book and join us in our next monthly business book club. We make sure the circles are small and the conversations stay real. But more importantly, we focus on actually applying the things that we're reading in these books to build better businesses together. So thank you so much for listening today. Hit subscribe and share this with one owner that really needs to hear it. And I will catch you on the next one.